So this is Nishad from ETV Bharat, and today we have with us Shannon Young, who is the batting coach of Fraser-McGurk, who has recently debuted for Delhi Capitals. So first of all, I wanted to ask, you have been coaching Jason since he was at the age of 11. So what changes you have seen in his batting technique since then, and how he has been playing right now?
Look, Jake has always been super talented. In terms of changes to his batting technique, we're always constantly working on just little sort of fixes, and as he plays better levels, and he made his Australia debut and played in the Dubai IL T20. So faster bowling, different conditions. We're always sort of playing with his technique, but he's sort of been true to his own technique since he was pretty much a young fella at 13. It's been a similar technique. Most of the stuff we talk to Jake about is about playing with freedom, and I think the world's sort of seen recently he has really high impact. So a lot of it's about decision making and the freedom to play the way that best suits his game.
Okay. So it's the basically the freedom is what has given him the license to attack freely, and that has helped him score massive runs. Right.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit different. He's technically he's a very good player. Always has been. He has a very good, traditional technique, red ball technique, but obviously, his high impact style suits one day cricket, particularly T20 cricket. So, he's quite often played, even with Delhi, sort of to a certain degree at the back end of the power play. But in the Big Bash back home, he also opened the batting for Australia in white ball cricket. So his role for most teams he plays in is to try and capitalise on the power play and take on the bowling when there's only two people out. So in terms of what we do technically, most of it is talking about staying really still, giving himself enough time. He has the unique ability. He just picks up line and length quicker than most. And then obviously if he's got a really stable base, he's a pretty talented hand-eye sort of player. So yeah, it's the freedom to sort of back himself in and say, okay, that's the way I'm going to play. And we've had a lot of conversations over the years that when he gets out, it's not going to look great. But when he comes off, he's going to win games of cricket for any team he's in.
So, like the criticism you mentioned in the last question, so can you elaborate what was the criticism kind of like when he was playing domestic cricket? And the second thing, do you think he can replace Warner after he bids farewell to the international cricket?
Yeah, I mean, the criticism is probably similar to this country. Unfortunately, in Australia, we have a lot of people who sit behind keyboards and on social media who have never really played the game at any great level, but feel entitled to make statements about, how good players are when they're playing at the best level. So yeah, the criticism's always been there, and unfortunately, it's a part of Australia. We have a thing called a tall poppy syndrome, and what it actually means is once people aspire and reach really really high levels of sport or fame or anything, we try to bring them down rather than support them and stuff. It's always fascinated me that yes, I'm very close to him, and I've worked with him since he was a young kid, but I can't understand why more people aren't saying how amazing is this 21-year-old kid. Obviously, I think back to my own playing, and at 21, we now expect so much of these young kids at such a young age, and yeah, so the criticism's always been about, probably his mode of dismissal, and as we discussed before, he's going to make heaps of mistakes. He's 21, so you know, when he makes mistakes, from a traditional cricket point of view, they can look pretty poor. The dismissals, you know, don't look great, and people feel entitled to, remind the world that, he just tries to hit every ball out of the ground. He can't play through the offside. It's all rubbish, to be fair. And he'll go on to prove people wrong. Not that he really, needs to worry about that. We have a saying that we've sort of shared for a long time since he was a kid of don't be bitter, be better. I finally got him to spend less time on social media and not actually worry about that criticism, and continue working hard and trying to be the best player he can be. Do I think he'll replace Warner? Yeah, I probably do. I think, it's been a real whirlwind 12 months for him, but he was the Renegades' best player. The Renegades had a really good list in the Big Bash. Quinton de Kock, Zampa, Richardson. They had a very, very good list and performed really poorly. Probably a little RCB like. The Renegades, had a poor year, but he had a breakout year. He was their only shining light. His first class, sorry, his 1 day debut, which I was lucky enough to be in Sydney. He invited me up there. The first innings in international cricket, he only faced 5 balls. And I guess the social media stuff over those 5 balls, he charged Alzari Joseph second ball, third ball, he put him into the stands. For a 21-year-old kid, Alzari Joseph, has played a heap of international cricket, a heap of franchise cricket. And then he went out and got 40. And I think a couple of days later in his second international off like 12 balls or 13 balls. So, is that the way I think, franchise and short form cricket is going? Absolutely. This IPL more than most. Been really lucky. I've been here and following Jake round, and as I said, I've got a tour of Australians in Chennai at the CSK, the Super Kings Academy, and we're watching the IPL every night and talking to our guys about it. And you can just see that the totals are going up. I mean, Sunrisers last night broke their, highest total from less than 2 weeks ago, and RCB go out and get 250 in response. So that's the way the game's heading, and players that are capable of taking on a power play are always going to be valuable. And is it the right time with David Warner potentially retiring? Yeah, it probably is.
Yes, yes. Right, and my final question is on him being rated as the bright prospect in Test cricket. Ricky Ponting said recently that he is one of the brightest prospect in Test cricket. Australia have right now, and then Jason Gillespie also said that he has the technique to play Test cricket. Although his numbers in first class cricket aren't that good. So, is there anything beyond those numbers that is not visible yet? And one more thing, that right now the gameplay he has been doing is aggressive. So does he has that ability to play an anchor role in the team, which is the requirement for the red ball cricket basically?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, the simple answer is yeah, absolutely. He has the technique, he has the temperament, he has the understanding of the game. I mean, David Warner's a really good example. So, for most of us Australians, David Warner made a T20 international debut at the MCG and got 70 against South Africa. Dale Steyn, he hadn't played a first class game. So sometimes with elite talent that's rare, and Jake's talent's rare, like a Warner. You only have to see him hit the ball to actually, understand that he can basically do anything he's going to put his mind to. And can he, he got his first Sheffield Shield 100 in red ball cricket this year, but the real key to it, Australia played Andrew Simons at 6 for a long time. Understanding that, he's perfectly capable of playing Test cricket and longer form cricket, but it'll be his way. And if people can embrace that and understand, he will, move games so forward in a session that, his side can win Test matches. Is he going to be the guy that if you're playing in England and you're four for not many, and has he got an ability to counter attack? Yes, he does. So, has he got the ability to defend if he chooses to? Yes, he does. But it's all going to be relying on what sort of player they want and whether they're prepared to sort of say, this is what this kid can do and this is how talented he is.